It's a beautiful Sunday, December 28th, and you're listening to the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino. Riverwind is Oklahoma City's premier casino experience, and there are so many reasons why Riverwind is consistently voted OKC's number one casino, but it all starts with their amazing variety of gaming thrills and excitement. Riverwind's beautiful award-winning environment plays host to more than 2,800 of the latest electronic games with a huge selection of table games, including blackjack match roulette, and Teddy's favorite, craps. No matter what your game, Riverwind has it in spades and hearts. And to learn more about their gaming promotions and entertainment options, all you got to do is visit riverwind.com. Riverwind Casino, always a good time. And how was Christmas, Ted?
Fantastic. Christmas was fantastic. Got to see some family, got to hang out. How do you feel about the 80 degrees on Christmas?
Love it, but also don't love it. It's weird. Like, if you told me this is what Christmas weather was now in Oklahoma, I think I'd sign up for it, but I don't know, man. I like the crispness in the air that's typically there with Christmas. And honestly, one thing it made it very difficult to choose what to wear to any of these things.
I
I was
know.
like, do we just show up in shorts and a t-shirt? Like, is that what we're doing here?
I I'm kind of the same way. I loved the weather. It was unbelievable. But at the same time, I'm like, it just I don't know. I don't know how it doesn't feel like Christmas for some reason. I don't know. It was weird, but all things considered, I mean, it was beautiful and things were great. Saw family, saw everyone, so I cannot complain.
I think it's a good rule for life to just never complain about 77 and sunny.
Probably right.
Just
Fair
take it.
point.
Hey, whenever you can get it, just take it, you know?
Always be prepared to take advantage of a quick 77-degree day in December.
Oh, had my sons out on the golf course day after Christmas,
There you
getting it
go.
in, man. But yes, very strange weather. Hope all of y'all out there had an amazing Christmas. Hopefully, everyone got what they wanted from Santa. Everyone was on the nice list, I assume, and not on the naughty list. But that sounded weird. But here we are. the The portal opens on Friday, so the transfer portal is opening on January 2nd. So we thought it was a good time to maybe it would have made sense to do this before Christmas, a Christmas wish list, if you will, for
Yeah.
OU's roster. But basically, what are the biggest needs as we see it for OU's roster that need to be addressed in the portal? Ted, I will let you start. What do you view as the number one position of need that we have to address in the transfer portal?
In my mind, it's tight end. It's tight end. We're going to have number issues now, um, but we have to get bigger. We have to get more physical. We have to get more ability at tight end, and it's been something that's been rough to overcome, especially in the running game. There's really, I mean, you can find ways around it, but it's hard to have a legit elite running game without having great tight ends. You need a couple of them. It's the tip of the spear in most of your run stuff. You really got to handle the edges. You got to be able to be physical in the gap scheme stuff. You've got to be athletic in the power and counter stuff where you're moving some of those guys, the split zone stuff. And then you've got to be able to use play action and use your tight ends off of the running game that you're able to develop because of them. And it's like a full piece of our offense that we haven't had total access to. And that gums everything up. It makes the passing game more difficult. It makes things harder on the quarterback, makes things harder on the offensive line. So, in my opinion, the clear number one is tight end.
It's at the top of my list. And when you look at the current situation as things stand, Canick out of eligibility, Huggins out of eligibility, and then Helms is entering the portal.
Yep.
So when you look at the guys on the roster, including the recruiting class, you've got Cade McIntyre, Trane Washington, John Locke, Carson Kent, and then you've got Tyler Ruxer and Ryder Mix coming in the recruiting class. You just have to you have to get older and bigger now.
Yeah, and I think Ryder Mix had a injury in his season, right?
Yeah. I think it was a knee injury. Is that right?
Yeah, so I don't know that he's going to be hitting the ground running right whenever he gets here. So that's something to think about as well. So yeah, I agree. And a lot of those guys like Cade McIntyre he's a tweener. Trane Washington he's another developmental guy that's got some great upside, but for what we see in this conference, undersized currently.
I think Carson Kent, out of all the guys that are on the roster, Carson Kent is probably the most likely to be a rotational piece at the tight end spot. Now, maybe if he can add a little more weight, he could be a solid tight end too, but he's more likely a tight end 3 type of guy, and his strength is route running.
Yeah.
Now, I actually thought he had some nice reps throughout the season in the run game. I just like the effort that he played with as a blocker, but he was not a guy that was, winning one-on-one at the point of attack in the run game. He just that's not what happened with him. But
you got to be 265 basically.
Yeah.
You got to be 265 to win those one-on-ones in this conference.
And I think looking at the offense as a whole, and this is something you'll see in these college football playoff quarterfinals, these teams are using a ton of tight ends. And our inability to use tight ends or for our tight ends to be effective in the 2025 season, I thought it really held us back offensively because our inability to get into bigger personnel sets, I think it made it easy for defenses to prepare for us.
And it's a tough trade-off. Whenever you go size on the field, speed off of the field, it can't be an exchange that you're taking a bunch of good personnel off the field for subpar personnel. Like, you can't have that exchange. It should be a even trade, size for speed. There can't be a massive discrepancy of quality. You can't do it that way.
And that's why we didn't do it.
Yep.
We didn't do you didn't see us getting a bunch of 12 personnel. We certainly weren't getting in 13 personnel. We didn't use the tight ends in the backfield much and get what could look like 22 or anything like that. And that, I just think it made the fact that we were so limited in our personnel groupings, I think it just made us easy to prepare for because you didn't have to spend hardly any time on any of those formations or any of those looks as you prepared to play this offense because you knew that at the very most you're going to get a handful of those snaps and you're probably going, we'll line up to it. We'll be fine.
Yep.
And I don't think we ever made defenses make tough personnel decisions like, hey, are we going to put speed on the field? Are we going to stay in nickel? Or are we going to be in dime? Or are we going to have to match and get in like base personnel defensively? There's all of these things that go into decisions you have to make going into a game when the other team can throw all kinds of different personnel groupings at you.
That's right. Like the lost art of logistics, right? Of personnel in and out, moving people back and forth, 2 tight ends, 3 tight ends, 2 tight ends, and 2 small wideouts. Like all these different matchups, the defense has to figure out the best way. Now, some defenses are built to where they don't have to change a whole lot, but others are. If you've got a small nickel, if you've got, a smaller edge guy, that you have to make teams match personnel and tinker with what they do, because every time they change, they're they're veering a little bit away from where they really want to be. So yeah, it's a lost piece of our offense that we desperately need.
We need a tight end that can block in line.
Yep.
I mean, and similar to what we said about the personnel groupings, like formationally, we were super limited because we didn't have a tight end that could line up next to an offensive tackle and get it done blocking in the run game.
Yeah.
That limits what you could do formationally, right? Like, so it just the inability to block in the run game, especially directly at the point of attack, also significantly limited what I think Ben Arbuckle could call throughout the season. So you were limited from what personnel groupings you could use, and you were limited what formations you could line up in. I think a lot of problems get solved offensively if you can get a couple quality tight ends in the portal. But everyone's after him, man.
I
Like
know there's
everyone.
not a lot of them out there. That's
No.
that's the problem. There's just not a lot of those guys, that body type. And I will add, and we don't have to spend much time on it, but like my greatest wish of all for the wish list is a meathead. Like, of if we could just get like a 6 foot tall, 265-pound fullback that is all bars on the face mask, eye black smeared all over the jersey and face, neck roll. I mean, please, Ripkowski. Can we just get Ripkowski, please? I'll add that into the tight end wish list.
You want us to have our own Bredesen from Michigan.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Tone setter. Glass
Oh,
eater.
I want, whenever the guy jogs on the field, the linebacker, every second level player on the defense says, "Dang it,
Oh.
no,
This
no,
is gonna
please, no."
you want and everybody that's played football at a high level knows what I'm talking about. You want them to turn on the tape and go, "Oh man, this is gonna hurt. Oh,
Yeah,
this is gonna hurt."
that's right.
I
That's right.
I think that's a perfectly reasonable request. Now we'll
Yeah,
see, but I clearly think OU staff, OU's front office, like everyone with eyes can see that we need tight ends. And it'll be interesting to see who we end up landing. But yeah, definitely number one on the portal needs list for the Sooners. What do you have next on the list, Ted?
I'm kind of surprised this is where I ended up, but I went defensive line. Um, one of the, maybe the biggest asset of our defense this year, which I think everyone agrees was the best we've seen in a long time, was not just the quality that we had on the front four, but it was the depth, the quality depth. Um, Jaden Jackson was banged up for a big portion of the back half of the season. But because of our depth, we were able to absorb that to where you didn't have a whole lot of drop off. You had good quality guys that could shorten up that rotation a little bit and cover for them. Throughout the early part of the season, having the deep rotation up front, I think, is what really helped keep our legs and have our guys available to cover late for less body and still have their legs there to be able to play at elite ability. So you're losing a couple of guys up front. You get guys back, there's no doubt, and I think our starting line is going to be excellent. But some quality depth, like, we don't have a Grayson Halton anymore. Grayson Halton was like one of the best do-it-all defensive linemen that we've seen. Sideline to sideline guy, quickness. He was our best pass rusher at the position. Maybe Stone has developed into that, but different. He had Stone overpowers you. Grayson Halton could beat people with get off and quickness. So good at the games, really forcing those offensive linemen to have to cover some ground. And Dominic Williams, like his powerful presence, pad level, hard to move off the ball. So I think interior defensive line to add some quality to the rotation, and who knows, like maybe because of the play that we had this year, maybe you're going to be clicking into a different level of type of guy that you can get out of the portal. So I think that's going to be a big piece because right now we just are not in a great position. I like what I've seen from Marcus Strong, and hopefully he continues to get better. But outside of that, we haven't seen anyone. Now, I know Trent Wilson came in and they liked him early in camp, and I think he'll put some size on, and I think he's going to be a piece that we like. But we are not in a great position right now to handle a loss of a player for whatever reason might happen.
It's on my list. Defensive tackle's on my list also. And you're losing Dominic Williams and Grayson Halton. And like you mentioned, Ted, Grayson Halton was the most disruptive guy on this defense.
Yeah.
I mean,
Probably most consistent too.
Yeah. I mean, I think he had a really, really good season. And I think he's going to test really well at the combine. I think he'll do well, especially in the one-on-ones at the Senior Bowl. Saw that he accepted an invite to the Senior Bowl. I think his stock's going to go up a little bit before the draft. But when you look at what's still on the roster, you've got David Stone and Jaden Jackson, which I think pretty much every team in the country would say, yes, sign me up for those two guys being my starting defensive tackles. But the depth is what made that group special this year.
Yep.
Having the four guys that could play at a really, really high level. And you also have to factor this in. Jaden Jackson, his first two seasons, he's been really banged up both years.
Yep.
So that has to be part of the equation here. So I'm with you, man. I think that if you can get to a four-man rotation like you had this season that you feel really, really good about, you got to do what you got to do in the portal to get there. And that's nothing against Marcus Strong and Trent Wilson, but right now, with what we've seen, knowing that you expect Wilson to get better, you expect all these guys to continue to improve, right? They're still all young. But is a four-man rotation of Stone, Jackson, Wilson, and Strong good enough to be a national championship caliber defense?
Yeah.
Probably not, right? With what we've seen up to this point. So I'm with you, man. I think that if they can land an impact player at the defensive tackle position, that's one of those positions where there are just not many solutions to a disruptive defensive tackle. They're just, I mean, there's not many things you can do if your interior O-line is getting whooped by a group of defensive tackles. So I think that it's definitely a position that they're going to look to upgrade if they can.
Yes, totally agree. I did a really good job absorbing a sneeze there. Sorry. Yeah,
very proud of
totally
you.
And to me, those are my first two. I said tight end, tip of the spear for the running game. Defensive line is the tip of the spear for the defense. These are at the point of attack positions. So yeah, I think it's going to be critical. But again, common thread. First two positions that I've got on the wish list are the first two or very high on almost every football team's wish list out there, right? So you're grabbing at a limited pool of players out there, and it's going to be highly competitive.
Well, let me tell you the other position I have on my list, buddy. I've got O-line on my list. You look at, you're losing Fabechi, you're losing Derek Simmons. You got a couple other guys that are moving on, right? Sexton's moving on, Jake Taylor, Isaiah Autry-Dent. And then on the roster, you've got Troy Everett, Eddie Pierre-Louis, Fasusi, Owen Hollenbach, Jake Michaela, Foje, Howland, Afalava, Akinkumi, Ozida, and Baklenko. And then you've also got Deacon Schmidt and Noah Best coming in the recruiting class. And when you look at what you would say the projected lineup would be right now, you're probably looking at some combination of Fasusi, EPL, Michaela, Ozida, Foje, and Howland. So you're probably getting your starting five from those six. Is that lineup good enough to get you to a college football playoff and to try to make a run at a national title? I don't know. But
if you're saying yes, you're factoring in a large amount of development from this point until next season from pretty much every single player.
Yes. Yeah, that's the question is, do you feel good enough about trusting that these guys are going to develop and be all of them be better players, or do you look to upgrade at a position from a guy that's maybe proven it more on tape as a college player?
Yeah.
I think they will look to upgrade along the offensive line if they can. Because 2026, I feel like there's these seasons, and this isn't just an OU issue. It's a bunch of college football programs are out there making these same choices. Like 2026 with Mateer back at quarterback, with some of the pieces you have back on both sides of the ball, with all the change, especially in the SEC from a coaching standpoint, you probably view it as a year where, hey, why not us? And I don't think the 2025 season is like viewed as them not being something they can build on. You know what I mean?
100%.
Like Venables said it in the locker room after they lost to Bama. Like, this is just the start, guys. And so I think they're going to feel good about what this team can be in 26. And if you can have one of maybe the best offensive line in the SEC, that makes everyone's life easier on the entire football team. And you're going to have to pay a premium. There's no doubt about it. It's O-line. But if you can upgrade to where you feel really good about every position across the board, they don't all have to be early round picks, but you cannot feel like you have any weak links. So that's where I think if the opportunity presents itself, they're gonna try to upgrade.
Yeah. Now let me ask you this. It feels more like in the past, like we've been stuck in the transfer portal vortex at offensive line, where every year we're bringing in multiple guys that we're expecting to jump in and fill gaps immediately. This is a little bit different. I think our base level has continued to rise, and if we don't land anyone, the group that we have, with some good luck health wise and a really good offseason of development, I think that group can be pretty good. But if you were to bring in someone, would you be looking interior? Would you be looking tackle? I mean, it's kind of really, where do you expect Foje to be? If Foje is going to be a guard, do you go tackle? Or
I think you also have to consider what the cost is.
Yeah.
Tackles are going to be more expensive, right? They just are. So if it was up to me, I'd say, hey, Ryan Foje, lose some weight. You need to lean out, and you're going to be all right tackle. I mean, he showed he can do it in multiple games. I mean, he showed he can do it. So if you've got two tackles on your roster and you don't have to go pay one of the top targets in the portal, like that's a great spot to be in. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
More
that's
bang
where
for your
I
buck.
but either way, he's got to lean out and change his body composition. So whether he's going to play guard or tackle. But I think if you've got a guy that you feel can be a solid starter at right tackle, which I think Foje could be, especially if he leans out, then I maybe you look towards the interior because it's a more cost friendly thing to address, But
Yeah.
the bottom line is just the offensive line, in particular in the run game, just was not good enough this season. So I'm interested. I will be surprised if they don't add someone in the portal O line wise.
Yeah. Yep. No, I totally agree.
So those are our three.
Well,
You got
my
anything else?
yeah, I had my third one was I was I didn't know where to go. Uh I'm running back or linebacker. Um and I thought about wide receiver, but you know, I think wide receiver comes if you handle the running game. I could be wrong on that. I think the passing game stuff will really open up. So I was between running back and linebacker. Now, maybe we're totally fine at linebacker. It's hard to know at that position with what some of the things that are still up in the air look like. But running back, I mean, maybe if you address the tight end, if you address the offensive line like we're talking about, the other thing, and we'll get into this, I'm sure, at a later date, we, in my opinion, need a total reimagination, philosophical change of the running game. But um, running back, I love the season that Blaylock had as a true freshman. Totally expect him to get better, add some size. You know, the physicality is there, but I think the durability will get better as he adds some more weight. But we have to have a game changer at running back. It's been several years now where you look at the rest of the SEC and where we are running back, it's just for whatever reason, whether it's recruiting, whether it's development, whether it's in-game strategy, I don't know, but running back has not been a positive for us, and it has to be. You can't be Oklahoma and expect to go in the SEC and be, bottom quarter of the conference at the running back position. You just can't. You have to have an elite athlete there. You're not going to be able to get over the hump if you don't have a player there that, at a minimum can run through some tackles, can turn those small chunks into big chunks, has the risk of breaking a long run or catching a swing pass and taking it 65 yards on you. We have to be more dynamic and more dangerous at running back.
I it feels like we've talked about that a lot over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
You have to have guys that can turn nothing into something.
And when
And
it's there, take advantage of it.
no doubt. And that has been it's the running game as a whole, and we're not gonna solve the philosophical problems on this episode, Ted, but I'm with you with what you said regarding that. But you just look at what Ole Miss has with Kewan Lacey. You look at what Mizzou had with Ahmad Hardy. Like these guys are game changing type players. And you got to be able to find one of those guys, whether you get him out of high school and develop him or you go get him out of the port. We have to be more dynamic at that position than we've been.
Yep.
And I'm excited about Blaylock's future.
Yep.
There's no doubt about it.
Hell of a year. Hell of a year.
But it is one of those things where it's like, we have to have a difference maker at that position.
Yep.
And that just, it doesn't feel like we've had a difference maker at running back in quite some time.
You really need at a minimum two of them. I you need a 225, 230 pound back plus, which Xavier Robinson fills that role, but he's had some health issue stuff and just some inconsistent play. It's been hard for him to find a rhythm, but you need a big physical athletic back that is dangerous, and then you need like a guy that checks into the field and is elite athletically, and we're able to take advantage of that athleticism in those mismatches. So that was my last one.
So to recap, the biggest needs in our eyes for this roster: tight end, defensive tackle, offensive line, and then running back. Seems like we need to get better on offense.
And that all could change tomorrow depending on, what happens in the transfer portal, of our guys going in, but as you look at it right now, I think that's first and foremost. And there's nothing groundbreaking here, right? If you've watched this football team all year long and really tracked, the development and the production, like I know we have, I imagine that's where they're going. But again, all very competitive positions in the transfer portal, right? You got to pay to play.
No doubt about it. All right, let's get to call your shot. We asked you guys, what do you think is OU's number one need to address in the portal? This first one comes from Terry Gray, who says Porter are already on campus, but 1,000-yard running back would really help everyone on the offense.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I mean, we just kind of went through that. But so we're not alone in our thinking that the running back position needs to be better. That I don't really know how else to say it other than that.
And there is, and we mentioned this, but there is an effect. Like if you really upgrade at tight end and you upgrade at offensive line, what you have right now at running back will improve and look better the easier it gets for everyone. But still, well, the production just has not been there.
What would be great is if we had a back to where when we handed him the ball, the defense would go, uh-oh.
Right. Yeah.
And it would just, I think maybe that's the best way to put it, like a back to where defenses were wishing we don't hand it to him,
Yep.
I don't think that was the case this season.
No.
So we'll see. And maybe it's just Blaylock getting better and Hatton getting to the program, and we've got a really young backfield that can step up, but we'll see. This other one comes from Sooner Sensei, who says TE is obvious. While I feel good about the starters on the O-line, adding depth seems like a necessity. Cannot assume health across the O-line, and we want to win in the trenches.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, at a minimum, if you keep the guys that you've got, the couple of different starting lineups that you went through, I mean, like I said, I think the floor is rising pretty quick, and depending what you get this offseason, I mean, it's not unrealistic to say that Fasusi, Foge, and EPL, after being baptized by fire as freshmen, get all those reps under their belt. It's not unrealistic to say that a spring, the confidence of playing, knowing that you've earned that spot, that by next year those guys are playing on a totally different level. But even if that's the case, depth is critical.
No doubt about it. All right, let's preview the college football playoff quarterfinals. But first, Download the Loves app from Love's Travel Stops, your guide to savings on the road. Fill up for less with a discount on fuel, 10 cents off on every gallon of gas, and 25 cents off on every gallon of auto diesel. And don't forget, in the store, you can unlock mobile deals on the Loves app to save on snacks, drinks, and select meals at Love's restaurants. Plus, you can plan your pit stops for your next road trip with the map and route planner. All from Love's, the heart of the highway.
Steaks are back. Didi Ranch's luxury steak cuts are restocked and ready to ship straight to your door. From mouth-watering ribeyes to silky smooth fillets, this is the best beef Oklahoma has to offer. And here's the kicker. They're now shipping next day air for free when you use code SOONER at checkout. That's right. Next day air like Amazon Prime, but for steak. Didi Ranch delivers taste and tradition the luxurious way. Order today at DidierRanch.com and get your steaks just in time for the holidays.
And we are brought to you by Simple Modern, the Oklahoma-owned company and the OU Sooners official drinkware partner. All right, let's talk real life in January, folks. The holidays are over, routines are back, and everyone's trying to reset without blowing the budget. That's where Simple Modern really shines. Their drinkware is built to last. Whether it's a Mesa Loop you'll use every single day, a Voyager 360 that keeps your coffee hot through the whole morning, or a bottle your kids won't destroy in a week, Simple Modern delivers serious quality without the premium markup. And it's one of those rare brands where the value actually matches the hype. And with 10% of profits going to charity, many right here in Oklahoma, every sip supports Oklahomans. Simple Modern, good everywhere. Wish the Sooners were still playing.
I do too.
But here we go. College football playoff quarterfinal previews. Let's just hit them in the order they're going to happen, Ted. So we get one game on New Year's Eve night, Miami versus Ohio State. That'll be the Cotton Bowl, kicking off at 6:30. Ohio State, depending on where you look, 9.5 or a 10-point favorite over the Hurricanes. Ted, there are going to be playmakers all over the field.
It's going to look like the Senior Bowl out there.
Athletes everywhere. Am I crazy for thinking this is going to be like a defensive, low-scoring game?
It's hard to know. I mean, I think Miami has proven that they can play in that type of game with that going on the road to A&M. Now, I think the offense that you're going to see in Ohio State is far more efficient, just better, more well-rounded. So I do think that there's going to be more offense than we saw through the vast majority of that game. But I have to imagine that's the type of game that Miami needs to create, don't you?
Yeah, I don't think it will really surprise me if they're able to run the ball effectively with Fletcher like they did against A&M against Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
I think Ohio State's defense is on a different level than A&M's, especially in the core of that defense. Right up the middle. You've heard Venables talk about that before. Like, you want to be good down the middle of your defense. Well, they do have 3 first-rounders right down the middle of their defense. And I think that's going to force the ball into Carson Beck's hands. And I just don't trust him having to win a big-time game against an elite defense. I just don't trust him to go win it throwing the ball.
Yeah.
And they'll try to get Malachi Toney his touches and, like, get the easy completions, get the ball out of Beck's hands quickly. That's what they've done this season. But I think he's going to have to play in quite a bit of third and medium and third and long and have to make some big-time throws. And I just don't think that's a recipe for success for Miami. I think that they need him to be the difference maker in the game. And I just don't think he's that guy.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at with it.
I agree. Carson Beck he's an interesting, I was just sitting here trying to make a comparison and I didn't really come up with one, but he is capable of some stretches of tremendous play at quarterback. He can like, if you give him a clean pocket, and he's got time, he can make some amazing throws. But when things get hectic, he is capable of some very poor quarterback play. And we've seen that in big games from him at times in his past, whenever there's not an edge athletically across the field, he can really start to struggle. And that's kind of what I see from him, because I think the pressures, it's going to be hard to establish the run, as you pointed. He's going to be in bad down and distances often. And Ohio State on the back end is not a weakness for them. They're really good, especially at safety. And Carson Beck has a tendency to just kind of wing it at times and let it rip, not seeing the whole picture. And that's where their safeties can really take advantage. So I see a multiple turnover day from Carson Beck, whether it's in the pocket or throwing the ball down the field.
If you're Miami coming to this game, I think that you want to keep as much pressure off of Carson Beck as you can, right? With how you called the game offensively. But Ohio State's offensive line, if you're that Miami defense, and they just had a bunch of success against that Texas A&M O-line that a lot of people consider maybe the best in the country, I think Miami's defensive line is going to be coming into this game liking the matchup, because I went and watched the tape of that Big Ten championship game, and Indiana's defensive line absolutely got after Ohio State's O-line. Like, kind of stuffed him in a locker a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I thought Ryan Day called, or I guess maybe it was Hartline at that time, like, I thought he called a really strange game in the Big Ten championship. Like, so many 2 tight end and 3 tight end sets. Like, you just wanted to run right over the top of them, it seemed like, which was
weird.
strange.
Every now and then Ohio State has like this, it's more like a prove it game plan than it is a game plan to go win the football game. It's like, we're going to throw everything out and just prove that we can run over the top of people. And it usually doesn't happen very, very well.
Yeah. And with Ryan Day taking over the play calling, like, I'm interested to see what type of game he calls.
Yeah.
If he spreads it out a little more and just tries to create some more space naturally for Bo Jackson in that run game, we'll see. But ultimately, I just think Ohio State's a better team. I just think they're a more talented team. Julian Sayin he's playing really efficient ball. Now, he'll make a mistake or two, and maybe it comes down to which quarterback makes the key mistakes in this game, but there'll be explosives on both sides with how talented the wide receiver cores are for both of these teams. But I kind of view it as a lower scoring game, and I think that it's one where it'll be close, but it'll kind of feel like Ohio State controlled the whole game, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm imagining. So if I had to pick a side, like, I'll take the 10 points with Miami. Like, that's a big number, but I'm comfortable. Like, I think Ohio State wins this game.
I do too. And I would probably lay the 9.5, but to the same point, like, I think it might be a 7-9 point game going into the fourth quarter, and Ohio State is able to separate late as Miami becomes desperate, and the final score not necessarily indicative of the type of game that it was, if that makes sense. That's kind of how I see it. I think it's Ohio State's going to be out in front. Miami's going to have to try and, as the clock wears down on them, create something, and that's going to put Ohio State in a good chance to kind of put the nail in the coffin late.
Miami certainly doesn't want it to come down to kicking after what happened in that first round game. My goodness. Still crazy you're able to have that type of day on special teams and win a game on the road in the college football playoff. Wow.
When everything else is bad and you run the ball, you have a guy go 17 carries for 175, something like that. That usually cures a lot of the other problems.
No doubt about it. So we both We both like Ohio State to win the game.
Yep.
Look at us just going out on a limb there. I I am really interested in that matchup between Ohio State's offensive line and that Miami defensive line with Bain and Mesidor. Like, it's also possible that that group just wrecks the game.
Yeah.
We'll see. I'm excited about the matchup. The size of the spread is one of those where you go, really? Okay.
Yeah. That's the
But
biggest spread in the round, isn't it?
yeah. Oh yeah, by a lot. So we'll see, but I I think we're going to get kind of a lower scoring good game in that one. Moving on to the Orange Bowl. This will be 11 a.m. on New Year's Day. Oregon versus Texas Tech. Oregon is currently a 2.5-point favorite. And Ted, I have been a Texas Tech hater this season. And we're about to find out how real the Red Raiders are in this one. And that's why this may be the most intriguing game of the slate for me, because Tech just hasn't seen anyone this season nearly as talented as Oregon. Like, we know Tech is good. Tech's a really good team. Everyone knows that. But we're about to find out just how good they are, because Oregon on both sides of the ball at the line of scrimmage, skill spots, like, they are head and shoulders better than everyone Tech's played this season. Sorry, BYU, you just don't have the same speed as Oregon on the field. So I'm incredibly intrigued by this game, and I'm very, very excited to watch it.
I am too. And that's one of the reasons it makes this game so interesting is Texas Tech, here we are, they're going to be playing, in January, and I really still don't know who they are, right? And it's an interesting situation because it's hard to gauge what a team is whenever you don't see them week after week against, it doesn't have to be a team that's on the level of them athletically, but at least close. I mean, they've faced some good teams. BYU's a really good team, but what they do is it's not like elite athlete driven. And that's what Oregon's going to be. So it's really difficult to project what you're going to see. And in these one-off games, there's some ways around it. It doesn't always mean that the outcome is going to go the way of the athletic football team, but it's just interesting, and it's hard to really gauge what you're going to see. Now, I will say that as athletic and as talented as Oregon is, in my opinion, they've left a lot to be desired as well. I mean, in no way do I look at Oregon and say, like, this is a clearly polished football team with no weaknesses that Texas Tech's going to be on the defensive the entire time. I don't think that's the case at all.
Yeah, I really just want to see that Tech defense against Oregon's offense. That's what I'm excited to watch, because I think everyone that has watched that defense led by Bailey and Rodriguez, like, everyone acknowledges this is a really good group. It's the best defense they've had in school history, by a lot. And they just haven't played an offense as balanced and talented as Oregon's. Like, Oregon's offensive line is good, one of the better units in college football. Their running backs are dynamic and good. Dante Moore may be the best pure passer in all of college football. Really good receivers. It'll be interesting to see if Oregon gets anyone back for this game at the receiver position. They got one of the best big play tight ends in the country. Like, I think their defense will play well, but it may be a situation where playing well against this Oregon offense is holding them to 27,
Yeah.
24. And I expect Tech's defense to hold up their end of the bargain. I just haven't seen that defense play against a really good offense. Like, who's the best offense they've played against? BYU, Utah, Arizona State.
Statistically, it's Utah. I just looked this up. Utah's got like the number 6 offense in the country. But after that, you start to get really far back. Baylor probably around the 20 mark, and then TCU around the 30 mark, Cincinnati around the 30. I mean, it drops off big time after the Utah offense.
Yeah, so that's why I'm so excited to watch it. Like it's it feels rare that a team that got a bye, that's the top 4 seed in the tournament, you're like, I'm really not sure how good they are. And
Yeah.
that's what makes this makes it really fun. I'm very excited to watch this game.
I think the hardest thing for Tech to match on both sides of the ball is going to be the overall team speed that Oregon is going to represent. It's just a little bit different style than kind of what you see in the Big 12. So I this one's I think this one to me is the hardest one to predict because I could see a case where Oregon just comes out, overwhelms them. But I could also see a case where, with all the rest that they've had, all the prep that they've had, remember, they weren't sitting around wondering who was going to win the Oregon James Madison game, right? So this has been a long time to deep dive on Oregon. So I think they'll have a bunch of things up their sleeve for them. So any result in this game to me is on the table, frankly.
I think the big question is Baird Morton and that Red Raider offense against Oregon's defense. Like, can they get the run game with Dickey and Williams going? Like, can they be efficient and be in good situations? Because if Morton is playing in a bunch of third medium, third and long situations, I'm not sure Tech has the type of weapons the type of weapons you need in the passing game to thrive in a bunch of those situations.
Yeah.
And also, Tech has been in those BYU games. Like Tech cannot kick a bunch of field goals in this game and expect to win.
You wouldn't think so.
You got to go. You got to finish drives, and that's been an issue for them. So I just can't wait for this game, man. That all being said, give me Oregon by double digits.
Okay.
I think at one point I called Tech fraudulent. Now I think I was fired up and we were talking about OU or something like that. But give me Oregon by double digits.
You can't back out now. I mean, this is the moment.
This is we'll see. We're about to find out what Texas Tech's got, and I just think Oregon's overall talent is going to be too much for them. But
totally agree. I mean, I think that is the case, but I don't know that that's necessarily going to determine the outcome of this one. I view this as almost like an unknown bowl game where who knows who had the best month and the best game plan coming in and is able to, it's not like one after another where it's, when you play someone week after week after week and you're stuck in a season, well, then typically the best team, most athletic team is going to win. But you give a month of time, there can be some weird results.
No doubt about it. All right, let's preview the other two quarterfinals. But first,
Schwab Meat has been smoking the highest quality meats, hot dogs, and sausages in OKC since 1912. Go to schwabmeat.com to order any of Schwab's outstanding products and use promo code OKBreakdown for free shipping on orders over $75. Schwab dogs are iconic. I like to keep it simple. Just a bun, dog, mustard, ketchup. Also, the jalapeno cheddar smoked sausage is ridiculous. schwabmeat.com, code OKBreakdown for free shipping on orders over $75. Schwab Meat, the official hot dog of game days.
And head to the garage for hand smashed patties, butter toasted buns, and ice cold beer. My go-to is the double bison cheeseburger. It's so good. The garage is the perfect spot to watch any big game, and you can enjoy Rad Hour every day. Enjoy discounted domestic beers, house wines, draft cocktails, and frozen cocktails Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 6 p.m., and Saturday and Sunday from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Visit eatatthegarage.com to find a location near you or order online from the garage in your neighborhood.
Insurica's launched a new digital agency introducing Insurica Direct. Whether you're in Oklahoma or anywhere across the U.S., they've got you covered. From small business insurance and health insurance for your employees to insurance for individuals like home, auto, and even Medicare supplements. Insurica Direct's got it all. Start your journey today at insuricadirect.com. Remember, at Insurica, we specialize in you.
All right, looking at the Rose Bowl. This will be 3 p.m. on New Year's Day. Alabama versus Indiana. The Indiana Hoosiers are currently a 6.5-point favorite. And it feels like all the pressure is on Indiana.
Agree.
Undefeated. Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. Number 1 seed. It is very, very rare for Alabama to be in this spot where it feels like they have nothing to lose. And I don't know how they're going to react to that. I don't know what to expect because of that. I don't really know if it even matters that much. Like, I don't know, Ted, but there's just simply no doubt that Indiana has been a more consistent team than Alabama this year. But Alabama has consistently played better teams. So I don't know, man. This is going to be awesome. All I want to be is entertained, but I'm very excited for this matchup.
Yeah, I agree. And it is rare for a team of Alabama stature to be able to go into a game like this and have the chip on the shoulder, like, hang on a second. Who do they think we are? You know what I'm saying? And how do you quantify that? I don't know, but it's a great place to be if you're Alabama. The other thing is, like you mentioned, Alabama has played Georgia, played Oklahoma. Like, they are battle tested, like, especially with some of the players that they've seen on these defenses. And I'm not taking anything away from Indiana. I think that clearly they're excellent on both sides of the ball, but it's not going to be some shock to the system for Alabama with the type of players that they're facing out there. If anything, it's going to be a shock to the system for Indiana whenever they see the players that they're going up against. Despite some of the scars that Alabama has taken this year, that roster is still incredibly talented. There are a bunch of outlier players on that team. Maybe not to the level of years past, but it is a very athletic, very big, very physical roster, and they are battle tested. So I'm shocked it's that many points.
I think it has everything to do with how one-dimensional Bama's offense has been.
Yeah.
And it's hard to imagine that this is where they find the running game against this Indiana defense that has been excellent. Now, I know they lose Stephen Daly off that defensive line, and that's a big deal. But I think it comes down to, can Indiana affect Ty Simpson in the pocket or not? If they're unable to affect him in the pocket, Alabama will move the ball and they will score points.
Yeah.
They're too talented at the skill spots, especially wide receiver, not to, like, if he's got time, he is going to carve their defense up. And I know that they feel great about every level of their defense there. But like you mentioned, Ted, their defensive line, Alabama's O-line's not going to walk on the field and go, oh, no, look at these guys. That's not – like, they're starting a couple of undersized guys along that defensive line, and they use movement and create confusion with some of these twist games and stuff that happen for them. So if Bama can handle all that and Ty Simpson has time, I don't see any reason why they can't move the ball and score points, but I don't like picking against Cincinnati, man. I don't like it at all.
I
It's
know
he's that
it's
guy scares me a little bit. It's like I
yeah,
don't want to pick against that guy. I would take the 6.5 points with Bama because I think there's an argument to be made. It's like, hey, they just got more talent on their team. I don't even think the people over in Indiana would argue that.
right.
But I just I don't know what to expect from Indiana in this game. I think that they'll be clearly be ready to roll, but how difficult will things be at the line of scrimmage for them? Like, will Alabama's defense be able to make them be a little more one dimensional offensively compared to what we've seen pretty much the entire season from
Yeah.
Mendoza in that group?
I also think that you're going to be able to tell pretty quickly how this game is going to go based on Alabama on offense. Uh, if they find like if you can see early that they're finding some things in the running game and they're able to protect Ty Simpson, then I think that Alabama's chances are going to look really, really good. You know, I've said it, and I think you have too, for quite a while, that Alabama's defense is much better than they get credit for. Um, they've got an elite rusher. They're really good on the second level at linebacker. They've got some nice size and ability in the secondary. So if on offense they're running the ball, finding ways to keep Ty Simpson out of 3rd and 10 over and over and over, then I think they got a really good chance to go win the football game.
I think Bama will play them very differently than Ohio State did.
Agree.
I think Bama's going to try to spread them out and make it a speed game.
Yep.
Now, Indiana's inside backers can run, dude, and their secondary is really good. Like D'Angelo Ponce isn't going to be scared of any of these receivers from Bama.
Yeah.
But if you can spread them out and turn it into an athleticism contest with the way that Ty Simpson throws the ball, man, like I think that's Bama's best way. They can't fall into the trap of like, hey, we're going to prove we're Bama. We're going to maul these dudes from Indiana. That's not going to go well. Ask Ohio State.
Right. Yeah. I feel pretty confident that that's not going to be Alabama's game plan in this one.
And Grubb has proven if the run game's not going, he's
So
just
be
going to
it.
abandon it and he doesn't care. you
Right.
know? So
That's right. Now, the interesting thing is how much do we tie our like how we view this season and what we think of our football team moving forward based off of this game?
it's it's not insignificant, right?
Yeah.
And I we don't really talk about the big picture of the SEC and like that type of stuff very often because we're typically just really focused on what's going on with OU, but this does feel like a big game for the SEC.
Yeah.
Like this is Alabama against Indiana. Indiana is not supposed to be better at football than Alabama.
Right.
And if you want to continue to say, hey, like the SEC is the best conference in college football, Alabama's got to beat Indiana. I mean, now you could say, well, it's the depth of the SEC, it's the talent of the players, it's the NFL draft picks, and that is all true. But if the best teams in the Big Ten keep beating the best teams in the SEC, you can't keep calling the SEC the best conference, Ted.
Ultimately, that's what nobody's going to care about how good your eighth best team is.
Right.
Right. At the end of the day, whoever's hoisting the trophy is going to get the bragging rights. And, the SEC's been a little bit on the defensive. So now I do think that and maybe my opinion changes after I watch the Oregon Tech matchup, but I think whoever wins this game has got a really good chance of making the championship game. That will probably be my pick.
I feel get give me Alabama plus 6.5, and I absolutely hate it. I just there's no doubt in my mind. I am being persuaded by the fact that Bama beat us, and I I don't know if Bama winning this game is good for us or worse for us. I don't know, but it kind of feels better when the team that beats you keeps winning. I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just want to
Well,
be entertained.
here's the thing, and I don't think this can be overlooked. There is there's something to being an underdog, and that the Indiana, the story that they've put together, that dynamic is incredibly dangerous. But it can quickly change when all of a sudden everyone starts telling you how good you are. And you spend a month receiving awards, everyone talking about how great this story is. And now Signetti is no doubt attuned to that. And I don't see him allowing that to really creep in. But it's hard whenever all of a sudden the narrative changes and everyone's telling you you're the best thing ever, right? And you're amazing and you got the best player in the country. That dynamic can change. And I think that that's been a big weapon for them. So, how do they respond to success? I guess is what I'm saying.
There's that piece, and then there's the other side where all these dudes are at Alabama, who has been kind of the standard in college football for a long, long time now, and no one believes in them in this
Right.
game. It's just the dynamics of this one are very, very interesting. But I just want it to be a close game. I want it to be come down to the last couple drives in the fourth quarter, but it kind of feels like a game where Alabama either wins or gets beat by 17. you know, that's kind of how I see it.
Well, it does feel like if you get one of those, you get stuffed on your opening drive and Indiana goes right down the field, scores a touchdown. Like if Alabama doesn't have a good start to this one, which, may sound stupid considering they were down 17-0 to Oklahoma, but um like there's only so many times that you can go into that well, you know what I'm saying? So Alabama, it would do them a lot of good to get out in front and be playing well early.
No doubt. What do you
Give me the
like in that
points.
game?
Give me the points with Alabama.
SEC homers. Look at us.
Yeah.
What have we become? One more game. And we've seen this one. Very entertaining the first time. Sugar Bowl matchup is Ole Miss versus Georgia. This will be 7 p.m. on New Year's night. Georgia, currently a 6.5 point favorite. Ted, is there any reason to think that Georgia isn't going to win this game like they did the first time?
There's one reason. Every other reason says Georgia's going to win it. But I do think that Ole Miss is going to have the best player on the field in Chambliss. Most dangerous player on the field, however you want to classify that. Um, we've seen that if everything else is equal or close to equal, he can be the difference in a big way. But outside of that, I personally think that this is the easiest game to pick. I think Georgia's going to roll Ole Miss. Georgia is they have just been ascending the entire season, getting better and better and better. They've got the perfect psychopath as a head coach, stability, um, both sides of the ball, special teams. They are firing on all cylinders and improving as the season goes on. So I this is the one I feel the most confident about.
I think when you consider what has changed between now and the first matchup between these teams, it feels like every advantage is in Georgia's direction. Like, who do I trust more to make better adjustments? Kirby Smart and his staff, or this patchwork staff that Ole Miss is currently operating with? By the way,
Yep.
Pete Golding in his press conferences, I hope he stays Ole Miss's coach for forever. He's hilarious.
He's
He's
been great.
great. It's
He's been great.
fantastic.
Yep.
Very entertaining. But like you you have to acknowledge that Lane Kiffin is no longer part of the equation.
Yeah.
So I think the advantage goes to Kirby Smart in Georgia.
Totally agree.
And then you've got this kind of looming situation with Kewan Lacey. He hurts the shoulder in the Tulane game in the first round game. He comes back, then seems like he re-aggravates it. Like I haven't seen anyone say, "Oh, Kewan Lacey's feeling great. He's ready to roll." Not a problem. And Georgia's not exactly the defense you want to play with a bum wing, Ted.
No, no. He is. If he's not 100% and he's not at his best, it makes everything so much more difficult on Ole Miss. Like what I said about Chambliss, I that doesn't work with Chambliss nearly as well if Kewan Lacey isn't a big factor whenever their offense is on the field. They need him at his best, whether he's having a large chunk of production or not. That threat and the ways that they use him really helps Chambliss out a lot.
I just thinking back to that first matchup, Chambliss was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And then late, he wasn't as good. Right. What they scored on their first 5 drives of that game and lost.
Yep.
But the Lacey situation has me over here going, just Georgia's inevitable. Lay the 6.5 with the dogs. You know, it would be a great story if Ole Miss was able to win this game, do it without Lane Kiffin. Like I think the celebration for the players and some of the quotes that would come from that would be really entertaining. But I think Georgia's the more talented team. I think they're the more balanced team. I think out of all the units in this game, Ole Miss's defense is the weakest. And when you think about what Gunnar Stockton and that Georgia offense were able to do to that Ole Miss defense in the first matchup, like they got whatever they wanted on the ground and through the air, man. So I don't know. It'd be great if Chambliss just played out of his mind and had like a historic performance. But it's just hard for me to imagine with everything that's going on with them. So
it's funny.
It's a boring pick, but
as close as their first matchup was. If you go back and listen to our interview with the Ole Miss guy, like it was a close game, but he essentially said that Georgia really won it by 6 touchdowns. Like, honestly, I know the score's close, but that game, it was just funny how he viewed that football game. And it'd be interesting to see how this one, the second round, looks. And I think Georgia's going to win it. I think Georgia's going to win it comfortably. Part of that, like the vast majority of that is I just think Georgia, quite frankly, is the best football team in the country right now and is on a upward trajectory. The other part is I cannot even think about having to deal with Lane Kiffin trying to take a victory lap if Ole Miss wins this game. You know what I'm saying? Like, that will definitely happen.
No doubt.
Despite what everyone else says.
No doubt. I mean, come on. That is inevitable. But this Georgia team, with as talented and as physical as they are, with Kirby and that staff having extra time to prepare, and the possibility that Kewan Lacey isn't going to be as effective as he's been for them this season, it just all points to Georgia for me.
Yep.
And in a perfect world, Ole Miss's defense makes this a game of red zone roulette, and they force a bunch of field goals. But in the first matchup, Georgia just went right over the top of them in the red zone. So I don't know, man. I would love for this thing to get real interesting. It just feels like everything points to Georgia.
It's got the potential to because of how good Chambliss is. You
Yeah.
know, I
Yeah.
think that if he goes out and has one of those special games, it's going to take that for Ole Miss to win, and he's definitely capable. I mean, a lot of people who watched him throughout the year, although it was oddly quiet for him down the stretch, but there was a large amount of people who thought he was the best player in the country.
Yeah. I maybe Gunnar Stockton makes some mistakes, and that's Ole Miss's path to victory, but he's taking great care of the football.
That's the thing about Georgia is typically they have not they have not given people opportunities, right? They've been the one to force you into making sure you don't create the bad play where that's their in, they wedge themselves in. And after that, after you make those mistakes, they're just too sound across the board in all three phases that it's really hard to find any room to operate.
I'm with you. All right, let's finish up with our winners and losers of the weekend. But first, wind, hail, tornadoes, and earthquakes are now year round threats. And at the same time, homeowners insurance rates in Oklahoma are the highest in the entire country. Unfortunately, some insurance companies use deceptive and bad faith claim handling practices to deny or lower what little they pay out. Fortunately, one of the leading insurance bad faith attorneys in the country is a longtime Sooner and resides here in Oklahoma, Jeff Marr. The Marr Law Firm has represented more victims of tornado, storm, and earthquake damage than anyone in the Sooner State, recovering hundreds of millions of dollars for their clients. There's only one law firm to handle insurance companies, Marr Law Firm. And three things matter in banking: service, service, and service. And First Fidelity Bank's commitment to exceptional service is more than a promise, it's their foundation. FFB has been by your side for over a century, and they are honored to be a part of your journey. Banking isn't about where you've been, it's about where you are headed. Open an account at an award winning bank today at ffb.com. At First Fidelity Bank, we go where you go.
Bishop McGinnis Catholic High School represents a tradition of educational excellence in Oklahoma City. Grounded in a faith-based education, Bishop McGinnis offers a college prep curriculum that includes 26 AP courses, participation in OSSAA athletics, and numerous clubs and organizations for students to join and grow. If you want to provide the best possible educational and spiritual development for your children, contact Bishop McGinnis Catholic High School or visit bmchs.org. Financial aid is available.
And go to opolisclothing.com and use promo code TED for 10% off our podcast merchandise and the best OU gear out there. That's opolisclothing.com and use promo code TED. Buttery soft and 10% off. As always, Ted, kick us off. Who do you have as your winner of the weekend?
You know, with all the coaching changes out there and different guys moving around and people that were going to play that got new coaches and all that, like it's been something that I've just kind of gone with the flow on. Okay, this coach is going here, this coach is going there. Be interesting to see what happens. Here's the difficult parts of that. Here's where I think it could work. This is the first time that someone has hired a coach, and I audibly said, blank. Whittingham to Michigan. I hate that he went there for a bunch of reasons. I think it's the exact coach they need. It is a rare philosophical fit for what Michigan has really become over the years. Physical, run game, defense, toughness, line of scrimmage, and then like the back end, the reputation, and like they got a bunch of crap going on at Michigan right now. They need like the guy that you just there's no cracks in the facade, right? And just to kind of bring everything full circle for him. And I think Whittingham is like the absolute home run, perfect fit hire for them.
I'm so mad at Utah.
No.
What are you doing? Like, how does Michigan was, and it has everything to do with us playing them in Ann Arbor next year. I acknowledge that. But Michigan felt dead, dude.
Yep.
The Sharon Moore thing happens. All the other coaches have already taken jobs. I'm sure they would have landed someone good, but Utah just what are we doing? You just hand them Kyle Whittingham? Are you serious, Utah? What are
Crazy.
we doing? Just throw
Crazy.
them a lifeline when they're over there drowning. It's ridiculous. Guy that's won everywhere he's been, wins a ton of games, has an incredible reputation, just like as a guy, but also the way he builds this program, the toughness, the physicality, the development. What are you doing, Utah? You can't just hand this guy to Michigan.
No, you can't. And like he like personifies everything that they have been about too. Like, I'm like, as far as the philosophy of their football team and how they have kind of built their roster, it's like, you're dropping the greatest driver into the perfect car. You know what I'm saying? Um, he's going to be great there in my mind. I think it's the perfect fit. I really do.
Hopefully, it takes him a year to really get things on track. Okay. Just
I thought that there was a chance that this thing was going to stretch out. They weren't going to be able to, like, kind of like the Penn State did a little bit. And in that meantime, with the portal, like, there was going to be a purge of their entire roster, but I don't think that's going to be the case now.
do you see that he still flew to the bowl game with Utah so that he could tell all his players and the staff in person that he was leaving?
I didn't.
Like you hear some of these stories where it's like, there was kind of a team meeting and poof, he was gone. He knew it was being reported. He's going to be the Michigan coach. Hops on the team plane, flies there with them to meet with everyone to be like, hey, I'm taking the Michigan job. Like, this is the type of guy Utah lets Michigan have. What are we doing?
I know it.
I've never
He's
heard a
like,
bad thing about the guy other than he's kind of weird with the injury reports. Of course he is.
right. Yeah, he's like the college football coach out of a movie, right? It's like the perfect guy for
I,
this job, man.
Dude, Michigan has all these scandals. They're down bad. They fire their coach, and somehow they end up with a much better coach.
I know.
Like it,
All seems
who's
like it.
extremely qualified and like you said, the culture that he's built at Utah like fits Michigan perfectly. I'm upset because we play them in 2026, and I was getting my hopes up that oh man, it may be Biff just in a year, in interim for a full year or something like that. And no, nope, they
No.
get Kyle Whittingham. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. You should have seen me whenever I first saw that on Twitter. I was like, there's no way that's real. That's not real. Someone's obviously, this is like someone's just throwing that out there, joking around. You should have seen me panic searching the internet over this announcement. I was mad.
I'm still mad. He was at Utah for forever, and they just had this weird parting of ways, and now he's at Michigan. Can't
Yep.
believe Utah. Utah bailed Michigan out somehow. It's crazy.
Hmm.
Who do you have as
Crazy.
your loser of the weekend?
Well, we talked about this a little bit going through the college football playoff matchups. The SEC and the Big Ten, like there's a battle going on right now for who the best conference is. And uh, you the bowl games and stuff like that in the regular season, ultimately who wins the championship is going to have like the trump card, right? To say they're the best conference. But it would go a long way if throughout the bowl situation that you hold your own. And I know that all the situations are they're unique. Portal guys out, NFL guys holding out. These aren't the best look always of who you are, what your roster is, and what type of team you were. But dude, Virginia, which I know that was the best team in the ACC, playing Missouri, who I don't even know where they finished in the SEC, but Missouri loses to Virginia, and then LSU loses to Houston. And again, I know where LSU and Missouri were, but it would have gone a really long way for the SEC for these down the standings team to go beat some of the most competitive in these other conferences. It's like, see, we tried to tell you the depth in the SEC is incredibly difficult to deal with, but they lose both these football games. It's come on. You got to hold up your end of the bargain on these deals, right?
In Missouri's case, no Perbula. He's
Right.
Portland. So it was Zollers, and Zollers didn't exactly light it up. And what
No.
was that, the Gator Bowl? The
I
Tax
believe
Slayer
so.
Gator Bowl.
Yep.
Yes. They put up 7 points. And Ahmad Hardy played. Jamal Roberts played. Like they had a lot of their guys, and they scored 7 points, Ted. And no one,
It
I don't think I've ever heard anyone be like, Virginia's vaunted defense.
right. That's what I was about to say is, I watched a pretty decent portion of that game, and you strip away the logos and not know who everyone is. There wasn't like this one-sided, you didn't at least view it that there's this one-sided, one team has the majority of the talent, the other team does not. Now, it was a very even game. Missouri had a chance to go. They were throwing Zollers threw a nice ball into the end zone to try and win it at the very end of the game, and the guy had it in his hands. It would have been an unbelievable catch, but um, it was one where they came up short, and it would that these two games in particular would have gone a long way improving the depth of the SEC.
Are you are you upset because of that, or are you more upset because we beat both of those teams and we're searching for reasons to feel good about our season because it's weird. Like normally we're preparing for a bowl game right now, like we're doing something, and right now we're just sitting here going, what do we do?
Right. Well, I mean that yes, I mean that does give you some verification of what you feel like you saw, right? I feel like the Oklahoma versus Missouri and LSU games could have gone on for a century and the score really would have probably been the same. I don't know that either one of those teams was ever going to do anything offensively. And LSU went out and found a way to put up 35 on Houston, but and their LSU is in such a weird position right now and have been for really the whole back half of the season. So I don't know. It was just that would have gone a really long way for the SEC's argument because they're constantly talking about the depth and that's why we have these teams losing and that's why we don't show that we've got these teams that are head and shoulders above everyone else. It's just because the talent has been spread throughout and it's incredibly deep. And I still agree with that. But I mean, you would have had a lot more. You're not going to, you could fight people till you're just blue in the face over, well, look at the situations of these football teams. Look at, Missouri without their quarterback and, go through the list. Nobody cares. Nobody
Yes,
cares.
correct. But
All they're going to do is look at the result.
I I don't want to say I completely ignore bowl games now, but I'm not going to take any other than the college football playoff games. I'm not going to make any big judgments from like what I see in these bowl games. They're just they're not meaningless because anytime you have a go out, you have a chance to go out and compete, and there's like you can win or lose. There's meaning, but I'm just not taking a lot from them. Like you don't know what guys are playing, what guys aren't. Like the vibes, you've got all these different staff changes for all these different places. Like, it's hard to know what to actually take from these bowl games now with how this
Totally
system
agree.
is operating.
I totally agree. Totally agree. Now, that being said, Tennessee, Illinois, Tennessee's a 2.5 point favorite. Illinois is a good football team. And who do you think's coming into that one trying to prove themselves? Right? Illinois is. You got Iowa, Vanderbilt. That's a Vanderbilt's a 4 point favorite in that one. Right? Everyone was saying Vanderbilt was the team that should have been in the playoff or could have been talked about to be in the playoff. You got Michigan, Texas. All right. Texas is a favorite in that one, 7.5. I guess what I'm saying is it's not that big of a deal until it becomes a big deal. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
Narratives could change. And like, I don't expect, like, if you were to go over in these games, that all of a sudden the recruiting landscape changes, but it may change a little bit. And a little bit could be a lot. If you can sit there and pound the table and say we're the best conference over and over, eventually public perception becomes reality.
just stop losing.
Stop losing, man.
Stop losing other teams in the SEC. At least we were courteous and lost to another SEC team.
Wait, we're out of this. We have no problem here. Okay, we proved how talented the SEC is, right, by losing to Alabama.
Oklahoma proved just how deep the league is with their home loss to Alabama. All right, for my winner of the week, weekend. This is going to sound strange. Give me the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now,
Okay,
yeah, like I said, it's going to sound strange. Now, we are recording this before they play the 76ers here on Sunday. And maybe my opinion changes like if that one doesn't go well, Ted. But, and let me know. Am I crazy to think that this 0 for 3 stretch against the San Antonio Spurs in 12 days is like the best thing that could have happened to the Thunder?
a little bit of humble pie, perhaps.
You're the defending champs. They were just absolutely cruising, man, and doing it without having all of their guys, right? People are starting to talk about them breaking the wins record. And in the blink of an eye, you've got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander on the podium after game saying, they're better than us and we've got to get better. Like it happens like that, man.
Yeah.
And I kind of think it's the best thing that could happen to him because you get better and you grow like working through adversity, not just beating everyone silly and like rattling it off 75 wins, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and maybe I'm just taking the ultimate homer stance on this, but I kind of like that the Spurs beat him 3 times.
Plant the seed, right?
Because I think ultimately, if it doesn't happen, then the Thunder don't get to the best version of themselves this season.
Right.
And I think that going 0-3 against San Antonio is going to make this group go, all right, boys, we're not a finished product. We got to get better. We won last year. And that doesn't matter. Like, and They'd been so good. And it sounds kind of crazy saying this about a team that's 26-5,
No doubt.
But as painful as it was for me to watch them lose all three of those games, I think ultimately it's a good thing for the team, for the coaches, maybe even for the fans. Like maybe we had gotten a little complacent as fans and we're like, hey guys, we got to refocus. We got to lock back in. And I feel like everyone associated with the Thunder has been like this wake up call. And I don't think that's a bad thing, man.
No, I totally agree. It kind of goes back to what I was saying about Indiana. You know, you take the Thunder a year ago where, well, they haven't proven it. They're too young. You know, they got to take that next step first. Well, it's easy whenever that's the environment that you're in, right? Where you're not sure about yourself because there's all the people telling you all your flaws and why you can't do it. Well, they go and do it, and then they start this season and oh, this may be the greatest team ever assembled. That's hard to handle as a team that really in sports, it's you have to always focus on what your problems are, and you always have to view inward and see your flaws and where you need to get better. But whenever everyone is telling you there are no flaws, you don't need to be better, how you are right now is good enough, you let off the gas pedal a little bit. And that's what I'm saying about Indiana over that month. That's an interesting, like, how do they handle that? And it's good for the Thunder that this is happening in December, right? And you got a chance to you take some scars and you've got a little something now, fuel for the rest of the run. I don't know when they play them again or how many times they play down the stretch, but this is gearing up to be a pretty intense rivalry over the foreseeable future, I guess.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. And honestly, it's like what I love for the Thunder to just coast to a bunch of titles. Yeah, that'd be great, but it's never that easy, man. And
You
San
gotta have a villain,
Antonio
man.
is
Gotta have a villain.
San Antonio's legit. And you still have Denver. That Jokic guy. Pretty good at basketball. But I think there's so much attention on Wembanyama and the challenges he creates. But the thing that has surprised and like stood out to me in the Thunder's three losses to the Spurs was their guards were just better than ours. Bigger, faster. Like no one can stay in front of De'Aaron Fox. Stephon Castle, like just using his size and his power. Like it was the first time I can recall over like a stretch like that where I went, man, this team just looks bigger and more athletic than us at the guard spots.
Yeah.
So that is something that, it can't be that way. Let's say we play him in the Western Conference Finals. That can't happen or else you're going to lose.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's been proven. But ultimately, this creates this fun dynamic between the Thunder and the Spurs. But I also think it's going to be a net positive, an overall positive thing for the Thunder organization because I do think it creates a sense of urgency that maybe just wasn't naturally there.
Yeah, I agree. I hope. We'll see. I mean, I don't know. You'll know better than me, but there does seem to be some matchup issues where I don't know if it's Wimby in the paint or what. It feels like when we've played them recently, we've been reduced to just hoisting threes, which is not always a bad thing. We're a good 3-point shooting team. It's a big weapon for us, but you know, I don't know. It just had a different feel to what a Thunder game usually looks like, if that makes sense.
The Wembanyama guy kind of deters people going into the paint.
Yeah.
Which is why the free throw discrepancy is what it is when you play San Antonio. And ultimately, like Caruso, Dort, Case and Wallace, These guys have to hit threes. Like they're
Yep.
using Wembanyama to guard those guys so he can roam and just protect everything. And he can cover so much ground because he's ridiculously large and athletic. But those guys have to hit shots. I mean, it sounds simple. What were we? 11 of 44 from three in the Christmas Day game. I think Caruso missed his first 9. It's
Tough.
like you're going to get those shots. You got to hit those shots. Like you
We
can't.
weren't even hit free throws.
Yeah.
When you do get to the line, you got to take advantage of it.
This just in order to beat good teams, you got to make shots.
There you go.
But the number one thing that concerned me or like got my attention is just how easily San Antonio was able to get to their spots at the guard position against our defense.
Yep.
That's rare to see. Like the Wembanyama factor is like, it is what it is. That guy's an alien. Like he just, good luck. But the guard play is that was the surprising thing. And I think that's the piece that's going to make the Thunder go, okay, boys, we got to lock in. We got to be better. Because they got outplayed.
Yeah. You used to seeing those players really agitated by the way the Thunder play defense, but there was like a lot of blow-bys and it just looked way easier than I've seen it look for teams against us in a long time.
It was impressive.
Yep, it was.
Thunder got a squad. Spurs got a squad. We'll see if, man, of Western Conference Finals between those two teams. Oh, my goodness.
Crazy.
That'd be a lot of fun. All right, my loser of the weekend, Texas. Dude, what's going on with their running back situation? What's happening in Austin? I'm confused.
I don't know.
Quintrevion Wisner is going to enter the portal.
Yep.
Been their lead back for 2 seasons. Just things have gotten strange. So you've got Wisner, you got CJ Baxter, you got Jarrett Gibson. Like all these guys are leaving. And I think the main issue for them, like the lack of run game, was because of their offensive line play. I think they have talented backs. Like I think all 3 of those guys are really talented. But I don't know. You've got an offensive head coach in Sarkisian. Your quarterback's coming back. And you got all your running backs being like, no, we're good. Like, or are they processing them? Like, I don't know. Like it just is, it's kind of strange, especially when you consider how Texas operates from an NIL perspective. Like they're one of the biggest spenders in college football. And it's just weird to me.
Yeah.
That their 2 leading running backs are in the portal.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. And not being around it, you never really know what the genesis of that is. Does that mean that those guys aren't happy there, aren't getting the payment that they feel like they deserve? Or does it mean that internally they're kind of getting not pushed, but by NIL stuff, you start stripping some of that money away. That's your way of saying go to the portal. Now they have to have an answer on the back end as to, why they would do that. But I don't know. Whenever you see that many guys, it's hard not to feel like there's something internal there that's creating it.
Now they fired their running backs coach a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And then they hired Florida's running backs coach. If Sark can get Jaden Baugh to come to Texas and leave Florida, then all of their running back concerns disappear.
Right.
Because that dude is an absolute stud. Now, he's not, I haven't seen anything that he's going to enter the portal or anything like that, but people are connecting those dots.
Sure.
But and maybe they feel really good about some of their young backs. But it's just really strange for a team that had a solid season, who's returning their quarterback, going to return a bunch of offensive linemen that you would assume get better, and I'm sure they were upgrade in the portal as well. but I don't know. It just these are not these things typically don't add up to a bunch of your backs entering the portal. You know what I mean?
Totally agree.
That's why
I'm
it's
sitting here,
strange. I'm having it doesn't add up to me. Like what is going on with it?
I'm sitting here wondering like who's going to play running back for them in their bowl game.
I got some young guys.
Throw some young meat out there. Now it's interesting. I I think I'm like 60-40, where 60% of me thinks that Texas is going to come out of this thing maybe better than they were, and 40% like there's some issues behind the scenes. I mean, some interesting moves off season, with Kwiatkowski on defense, and if Sark is feeling the pressure, and whenever you feel the pressure, you make bold moves, and that doesn't always end up being the right move. So we'll see.
It's just strange.
Agreed.
Wisner went for what, like 155 against A&M, and now he's in the portal. It's just
I gotta imagine he'll be, and I haven't seen all the running backs that are in, but he'll be one of the highly sought after guys in the portal.
you would think, but just strange, just a little strange. I I'm over here just trying to figure out. Maybe there's nothing to figure out, but it's interesting. They've got Trey Wisner listed as the third ranked running back in the portal behind Caleb Hawkins from North Texas, who had a heck of a season.
Yeah.
And then Hollywood Smothers. How about that?
Yeah. Good year. Well, NC State, is that
NC State,
yeah.
big year. So, but they've got Trey Wisner there as the third ranked back in the portal, according to On3. So we'll see, but just kind of strange.
Yep.
Birthday shout outs. Happy first birthday to Mitchell Big Mitch Barber.
Happy 9th birthday to Bennett Barty.
Happy 13th birthday to Lily Atterbury.
Happy 18th birthday to Jovi Wilkins.
Happy 18th birthday to Sonny Ramsey and Ashley Ramsey.
Happy 40th birthday to Bobby Wilkin.
And happy 74th birthday to Craig Weinbrenner. On that note, episode 593 in the books. No episode on Wednesday. We're taking one episode off in the year of our Lord 2025, and it's Wednesday, Ted.
Let's go.
It's going to feel weird. It's going to feel like we're missing something.
The college football world is very fluid right now, so we say that today.
Fair enough. If something, yeah. Hey, stay ready. If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready, I suppose.
You never know when you're going to get the call.
Yeah. Well, the plan as of now, no episode on Wednesday. Enjoy New Year's Eve. Enjoy New Year's Day. And then we'll be back in your feeds a week from today. Just a reminder, please subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hope you all have a great start to your week. And until next time, we appreciate y'all for listening. Do what you always do, Oklahoma. Take care of each other.